Welcome everybody to Monday Morning Call with Paul. I got my mentor, the guy who taught me about this business. He finally accepted my invitation to come on board. Um, Anyways, this is Roy Stevens. You guys, I know you don't see him much on Zoom, but you always see him on the board. This man is a legend in the insurance business, and not just because of just writing business, also a legend in the party scene back in the day too. Welcome, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Ryan said, Roy, look, I finally got on here after 1 to 2 years saying it.
Every year I'm like,
What
dude, I'm
happened?
gonna pass the test. I'm gonna pass the test. Then I
Let's go.
and here I
Yeah.
am.
All right. Well, anyways, man, so just to kind of let people in on a little bit about us and how I met you. So I met Roy at the practice company that a lot of us came from. Um, and at the time, we had an upline, a guy that we knew very well and hung out with, and he put me under Roy. And at first, I was not into it, to be completely frank. And then I started hanging out with Roy and sort of going to his house. Like I'd drive, what, 2 hours, so I had a normal job and I'd get off of work and then I'd fly down to spend the whole weekend there at his place. And then learn how to sell, and then fly back to go work the normal job. And that's basically how I met Roy. And Roy's one of those guys that I don't think anybody can say really too much anything bad about him because he's always honest and he's always been like a straight up dude. Like he just tells you if you suck, he's gonna tell you you suck. If you're doing good, he tells you you're doing good. But yeah, man, yeah, that kind of brings me back to sleeping in your spare bedroom there for a while.
Well, good times.
Yeah, definitely. So, I kind of wanted to tap into you because a lot of people here don't know that you've been in insurance for a long time. So, kind of talk to us when you got into insurance and what brought you into it.
Yeah, so our friend, most people probably know him on here, Mark Nilsson. He convinced Clint and myself to both do insurance. And I think the biggest reason I decided to get into insurance is just to be my own boss and to scale my own business and kind of live the lifestyle that I wanted. I came from a background where I always worked in a corporate position and stuff like that, and honestly did pretty well for myself. I had a great living, was making pretty decent money, but I wasn't able to go do all the things that I wanted all the time. I hated having to request permission from someone to go do the things that I wanted, and that was kind of the biggest thing for me, setting my goal higher, setting my sights higher, and really chasing a dream. So definitely got me out of my comfort zone though.
What year did you start?
In insurance, it was the beginning of 20 or end of 2017.
And then back then we were doing in-home at that time. So kind of speak to that. What was that experience like for you to be training as a brand new agent going in home? What did the typical day look like?
Yeah, so when I first started in insurance, it's kind of funny because a girl that I've been dating is in insurance now, and we are talking about our schedule, so it's funny to bring that up. But when I first started, Monday was always a call day, so we'd go in the office, and then we'd do like trainings, everything like that. Usually we'd get in about 10, 11, and then we'd do trainings till about 2. I think it was 1 or 2 o'clock. And then literally we're just on the phones from like 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. all Monday. You were booking for Tuesday and Wednesday. You wanted to have 8 appointments stacked for each day. And then obviously, if anything fell through, you're back calling in the field. So that was always kind of my mentality, 8 appointments for every day that I was in the field. And then on Thursday, same thing, back in the office, doing interviews, whatever it might be, trainings. And then from 2 to 9, booking for Friday, Saturday. And honestly, for almost 2 straight years, I worked Monday through Saturday without hardly any breaks, and then just had Sundays off. So it was really a grind in the beginning. I didn't love it.
Yeah. How would you say your time in life insurance sales has sort of transformed your perspective of life?
A ton. I definitely am not still making the money that I want because I've always wanted to be a millionaire, and I'll just throw it out there. I'm not a millionaire yet, but I do pretty decent. But the biggest thing that's transformed my life is honestly I'm able to do a lot of the things that I've always wanted to do in the past that I haven't been able to or haven't had the funds to. and also the time. The biggest thing for me is time is more valuable than money to me personally. So being able to do that, like for example, last year I was able to go on a vacation I've wanted to go on my entire life. I went for 3 weeks and had the time of my life, and no one bugged me, and I didn't feel bad about it. So being able to accomplish and do things like that is an amazing feeling.
So basically saying nobody bugged you, like no manager or people wondering when you're coming back or bogged down with emails from corporate or like our practice company trying to make you feel guilty about taking a vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. Um, can you kind of share maybe what some of your biggest fears or doubts were when you were starting the business?
Yeah, so I left Comcast was where I was at before this. I was making 155 grand every year. I had stock options. I was salaried. I was pretty much a professional lunch buyer. I just took sales reps out to lunch all the time, made sure everything was good, did incentives. Like I had a really cush job.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, transitioning from that to 100% commission, not really having any sort of guarantee other than just kind of a dream, it was frightening, honestly. And then when I first started, I kind of almost wanted to smack myself in the face, like, what are you doing? Like, this is the dumbest thing you've ever done. I was next enrolled for a VP role there and was just climbing the ladder pretty quick. So yeah, I think it's really scary, but having a dream and having a vision and knowing where you want to go and when times are tough, not giving up. But I also I served an LDS mission, and one thing that I always used to say that my brother taught me is when the tough gets going, the tough get or when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And so I remember when I first started in insurance, I'd replay that in my mind all the time. So that was kind of the thing. You got to dig deep and keep going. Sometimes it seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, but I can firsthand say there is if you stick with it.
It's funny because, we talk about like Samir and I and Clint, some of the others, we kind of make fun of you because, you're always going somewhere. You're always hunting, you're always horseback riding, you're flying out to Phoenix, Vegas, Miami. You're like always doing something, right? How do you sort of balance that all? Like, how do you make that happen?
I think the biggest thing is knowing your goals and like where you're at. So for me, I don't necessarily calculate anything anymore on a daily or weekly basis, but I know the monthly number I have to hit. So for me, I've got to be at 20K issue paid every month. Or if I'm not at that, then I have to either double down the next month or I have to forgo some of the fun things I wanted to do. So make sure you know your goals, what you have to do to get there. Um, Me personally, I don't track my numbers quite as well as I should anymore because I can kind of just get the sales and know where I need to be at the end of the month. But if you're starting, I would say knowing how many appointments each day you need to have of those, what's your show ratio, how many are you selling once they show, and knowing your numbers ins and outs so that you can hit what you want. So you're probably gonna have to replay everything backwards, know what your bills are, know what everything, and just set it out and map it for you. I used to do that all the time, a little lackadaisical with it now, but I'm able to kind of bypass a few things from being here so long.
So how did you come up with the number of 20,000 issue paid?
So I
So that
calculated
that's
what,
your cover.
yes, I know what my bills are, what I have to pay, my car, my truck, my rent, all that kind of stuff. And then I know usually most of my money goes into what you're saying, playing and traveling around and doing stuff. And so,
Wakeboarding.
yeah, like the wakeboard in the summer, like ride my horse, do all that kind of stuff. So just having that set number and making sure that there's some allotted to what you want to do and what makes you enjoy your life. Because if you don't enjoy your life, what's the point of living? And then obviously stacking some aside as well, making sure you're keeping some for taxes. That always sucks when that rolls around. So just making sure that you have different funds and allocated for each thing that you know you're going to need.
Speaking of, can I borrow some money for next year's taxes?
Yeah, I'm a little scared about money.
So, it, let's kind of get back to like you being in the business in the beginning, right? And mentorship. How did that help you be successful and what were some of the key components that you learned to be successful in insurance?
The biggest thing that I've learned in insurance is keeping it simple and just copycatting. So the best thing I've ever learned, find someone who does really well, watch them and copycat them. So literally like say what they say, make the dumb jokes that they say, like do the same mannerisms. It works for a reason. And they're probably not the first person that's invented it. Like this business has been around for a long time. So find someone who does well. Maybe their style won't be the 100% for you, but just watch top producers and then implement and do what they do. They're successful for a reason.
Who's inspired you the most in insurance business?
Um, I would honestly probably say Isaiah. So when Isaiah first started in insurance,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I remember I was close with him then, and he was coming from a trucking company and really scared, just like all of us. I mean, you come to a 100% commission, but literally just he was a student of the game. Anyone that did well, he sat in his car, he learned from them and continued, and he scaled his business, and he wasn't scared to move. He went to Florida. Yeah, a lot of respect for Isaiah and what he's done.
Yeah, he's done a lot. He's pretty phenomenal about what he did, and it's funny because he's really turning on the gas in real estate and becoming successful there too. He's just got that formula down of what it takes and the discipline to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Kind of going back to your first days, if you could give yourself advice back then from today, what would you tell yourself?
Um, I think the biggest thing for me, I wish that for almost 5 years I would have kept that mentality of working Monday through Saturday. And
Mhm.
then I wish I'd have been more studious as far as like Ty Jackson, learning annuities quicker, learning IULs and all the different things to make yourself successful.
Mhm.
Obviously, knowledge is power. And with our contracts and between Medicare, annuities, life insurance, health insurance, ACA, all of it, like we have so many weapons, but we don't utilize all the tool belt or all the tools in our tool belt. So I would say that's the biggest thing. And then keeping that grind mentality. Obviously, I'm getting older now, but just like you said, I like to play and do all the things that I did when I was in my early 20s. So I wish that I would have had a little more drive to really scale the business when I was younger versus always having the plain mentality. Not that I regret anything, but if I could change one thing, that would be it. I like to do the fun things now, just like I did when I was younger.
Yeah, yeah. It's good to hear you say when I was younger.
Years go by quick.
It does, right?
Mhm.
Um, how would you say like your upbringing is helped you to be successful, whether you were at Comcast or here? What sort of
Yeah, I mean, I would attribute a lot of my success to my dad. I grew up on a farm. He always had me up, whether I wanted to be up or not. I remember him coming down and yanking my leg hairs out of my leg until I'd wake up, and then we'd be out hauling hay or fixing fence or doing different things. And just taught me from a young age to kind of stick to a routine and to do things. And even now, obviously my routine's not as great, but I still do the same things. I get up, I go to the gym now, I work, I make sure I have something fun planned in the evening to get my mind off work and do the things that I enjoy. So yeah, if you don't have that set routine or if that's not how you grew up, it's definitely something that can be trained and learned. So like no one ever feel bad if you don't, but literally set goals for yourself and set different things in a routine. Like if you can treat this like a 9 to 5 and have your specific goals and a set schedule, that's how you'll be successful. You can't wake up and say, oh, maybe I'll start at 10, maybe I'll start at 11. You won't be successful. This is a tough job.
dude, I totally get it now. I didn't really realize that I always thought it was weird as a guy you didn't have hair on your legs, but now I know why. So, do you think that upbringing also kind of helps you push through challenges that you've had in life, but also in this business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anyone on here obviously has challenges. We all do, and this job probably times it by 100. This is tough, especially when you have a bad day or a bad week and the
Mhm.
money's not hitting your account. Like it's stressful. So making sure that you can overcome challenges and be mentally tough is difficult. And I also think it's really important to have someone to talk to. There's lots of people who've been through it. So don't face it by yourself. Call your upline or call someone who's been in the business that can help you and coach you through it because even now, we all still have our bad days and our bad weeks, even being in the business for 8 years now. So
Man, 8 years, that's gone by quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the toughest challenge that you faced in insurance so far?
Um, Boy, what is the toughest one? I would say the toughest thing for me was going from a high position at Comcast to kind of going to being the low guy on the totem pole, and really having to have that learner mentality again and accepting constructive criticism. That really humbled me a lot when I first started, but it was really a good thing for me, and it's been good to really keep that mentality now. And this is such a vast industry. Like there's literally so many things that I still don't know and so many that I can learn. So it's really exciting to be in an industry where you can always be growing and learning.
Yeah. Um, what would you say as far as like how would I say that? There's got to be a better way to ask that question. Um, skip it. Let's go to legacy, right? You said earlier that you wanted to be a millionaire, right? And the thing is, we deal with death every day, right? Because we're selling, to protect from that for your family, right? What sort of legacy do you want to leave when you pass away?
Um, I mean, obviously the standard response is everyone for one. Like I want to have it set up where if I do have kids or grandkids or anything like that, that there's a wealth there or money left behind that no one's hurting. That I've done a good job to set them up for their futures. But I'd also like to leave a legacy behind of people knowing that I worked hard, that I always like showed up and did the things that I was supposed to and helped others and truly cared and loved about others. So I think if you have the right mentality of always wanting to help others and putting others first, that'll create a good legacy for yourself and truly benefit everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what's your goals, man? What's your goals for 2025?
So my biggest goal for 2025 is to not have to rely on Ty when I get an annuity, and then obviously, really would like to get a lot more Medicare sales than I did this year, and I would like to hit the 400K mark for the Hall of Fame for life.
So you're really ready to just lock it in and put it in for 2025.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So does that mean less vacations or
I'd still like to do the vacations, so I try not to ever forgo the things that I like to do because that's when I start getting miserable. So I like
yeah.
to try to incorporate all of it.
So because of this business, what was your favorite vacation that you got to take because this business allowed it?
Yeah, so most people on here probably know me, but I do like to hunt a lot. So I was able to go to South Africa, and I went with a lot of my close friends, and we were over there for 3 weeks hunting, and it's just a super cool experience. Got to see a different culture, got to see a lot of animals that I've never seen before, and it was just an amazing opportunity. And kind of was 5 star. We were in a really nice place. They had Wi-Fi, the whole thing. It was a pretty bougie hunting experience, but it was really fun to be over there and hang out there.
Was it warm?
Um, Warmer than the winters here, but it was still pretty cold because we hunted in their winter times. I had to have, but yeah, not like freezing at all.
Yeah. And what does a hunt like that cost you?
Um, I still am not done with it because I haven't gotten the animals back, but I'm sure by the time I'm done, it'll be about 35,000.
Whew, thank
So
God you're in insurance.
yeah, yep, stacked up fast.
I can't imagine being back at corporate and taking a $35,000 vacation. That would,
I wouldn't have had the time to take the vacation if I
yeah.
was still at my other job.
Well,
So
when I left, I had 4 weeks, so that would have took up almost all of it.
yeah, and
Yeah,
that was just
that's
one
funny.
vacation I went on last year. So
Yeah, yeah. So what vacation that you have coming up that's the most exciting for you?
I don't have anything set in stone, but me and some friends are talking about going to Thailand beginning of February for a friend's birthday. So I'm pretty sure I'll be in Thailand some point February to March.
It's funny because Samir was asking about Thailand in the chat there. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think Samir wants to go too.
Samir will be trying to book a ticket too.
Yeah. Of course, it'll be last minute. It'll be like the day
Yeah,
of.
see if he
It's
makes his
not
flight
gonna
or
be
not.
on time. Yeah. He'll have to catch the second flight out.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did he miss his flight?
Saw something
Yeah,
on Instagram about him missing it.
yeah, it's funny. So for people that are like brand new here, right, and they're just getting in the business, what's some advice that you would give them so that they could kind of live the lifestyle that you're living currently?
Well, the first thing I would say is you can't be a new guy and expect to do what someone's doing that's been here for 8 years. So get that thought out of your brain right now, and just buckle in and be willing to grind and be a student of the game. Like literally, whatever trainings they have for you, do them all. Watch top producers. Don't be scared to unmute on the Zoom and present in front of people. Like I know Anthony Amaker's always on here and always helping. Paul's on here a lot. So people who've been doing it, they don't want to see you fail. They want to see you do well, but they can't help you if you don't unmute, if you don't do your part. So literally just anything you can to get better. Always be on here. Treat it like a 9 to 5 job. Don't be lackadaisical. Don't show up here and there. This is one of the hardest jobs out there. It's a low success rate of life insurance, but those who show up day in, day out, they do make it happen. And just so everyone knows, I've seen a guy that absolutely sucked at this job, and I thought he was going to fail for sure. We were talking about it not too long ago, but Clint literally rode out with him for almost 6 months, just day after day after day after day, helping him. He's a top producer at the company he works for.
That's crazy, right? You just never know. I remember when we first started together, and you told me when we were interview people when we were recruiting a lot back then, you're like you could never tell. It's like I've never been able to tell who's gonna make it and who's not. Like you seem like this guy's got all the talent in the world, and then 2 weeks later he's gone. Versus
Yeah,
a person that you think, oh, there's no way that guy's gonna make it, and he crushes it. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a weird business in that sense for sure.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I've never guessed right on that, to be honest, from
Yeah.
recruiting. No, I don't think I could say one. Yeah. Um, how does a person, we kind of talked about this last week, right? A person decide whether this is really for them or not. And how do you make that distinction?
Well, I'm just going to point out to this day, I've been doing insurance for 8 years. It's not my dream job. I still have to kind of psych myself out to do it. So getting on and talking about insurance is not my all-time high of the day. But for me, just like Paul's been talking to me, is about the lifestyle and the things that I can do and the time that it creates for me. That's what makes me passionate about the job. So make sure you have a why or what makes you tick or why you want to do this, because if we're just calling a spade, life insurance is not the most glamorous thing in the world. And sometimes it's not very fun to talk about, especially when you're talking about death with people, or at least for me. So maybe some people enjoy talking about it. I don't know. But I think that's the biggest thing is having your why.
Yeah. So your why is lifestyle.
Yeah, mine is the time. I want something that creates the time so I can do the things that I love and this is a perfect fit for me. I can work the hours that I want and create a really good income and yeah, literally if I want to go to Africa for 3 weeks, I go to Africa for 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, man. So besides that, on imparting wisdom on the people that are brand new, what about the veterans? Let's say they're going through some struggles, right? They've been here 4 or 5 years or 3 years, and maybe this has kind of been a tough week or month for them. How would you how would you advise them to kind of get past that?
So if someone's been here 4 or 5 years and they're having a tough month, then I would say that they're probably not working if I'm just being straight up honest with them, or they're not working hard enough. So it's really easy to get lackadaisical and not put in the hours that you want. So if you've been here a long time and you're not having success or things are tough, you got to go back to basics. So go back to the things that got you to where you were. So make sure you're working the hours you're supposed to. Make sure you have a good lead flow. Are you purchasing enough leads? Are you doing this and all the different things to make sure you're successful? I'll bet you'll pretty easily find a hole in the gap or a gap in the schedule somewhere.
All right. Well, man, that's pretty much all the questions I got for you today, man. Man, we fired through that, right? But the one last question. If you could tell a funny story about Samir, what story would that be? We
No,
have to
hey,
leave.
Roy, just
We have to leave
let's
Thailand
skip
out of
this
that.
one. Say pass. Pass.
I was gonna say, so someone DM me privately, and I can send some pretty good stories.
Thank you.
Remember New Year's, when we had him on video, like,
Yeah, we got some videos, right? Yeah.
Just keep an eye on my story when it hits Samir's birthday.
Yes. That's funny. Well, hey, man, again, thanks for everything, man, and hopping on. If you can, stay a few minutes after we close here for people to ask questions. But other than that, man, appreciate you. And thanks for everybody for coming to Monday Morning Call with Paul. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, sir.